Okay, we are back for Roundtable Rams episode number 19. I am once again joined by Billy Melissa. Buddy is not with us. He is on vacation. He will be back next week. And then I will be gone for a couple of weeks on my own vacation. But
Feeling left out on these
I know,
vacations.
I know, I know.
I have to take my own.
It's my big trip of the year. I will be over there across the pond in Ireland
Woo!
and in
Come on
Scotland.
over.
And in Scotland for a few days, but that's neither here nor there. People don't need to know where I'm at, but that's where I'll be at. Anyway, doesn't matter. We're here to talk all about Rams football. Not a whole lot going on with the Rams in terms of they haven't really said much. Sean McVay hasn't had a presser, neither has Sean or Les Snead or anybody for that matter. But rookie minicamp is starting up here very soon for the team, so there will be more updates regarding that, how the rookies perform, their undrafted free agents, all that good stuff. But while that is not happening yet, you got us talking about what is happening. So, a couple things
Some
here.
drama.
Some big time drama, but not so much drama on the teammate thing. Mr. Jared Verse, one of the Rams' top defenders, who's I really like listening to Jared Verse talk because he's just very consistently like down the middle. He's very animated. He's very passionate about his team. He loves the rivalries that he has, and he's kind of a straight shooter. He will call his own self out. He'll call his defense out. He'll call the team out. He'll call pretty much anybody out and be a critique and critic of his own performances and whatnot, which I do really appreciate because he's really real about it. He's very down to earth about it. And he's like, look, it is what it is. This is what's going on. But he talked about Ty Simpson. He brought him. He was asked about Ty Simpson, what he thought about the pick, and there hasn't really been much said about Ty Simpson other than everybody complaining about the pick or being highly critical of the pick, and us included, going, we don't know
Yeah,
what's really,
guilty.
yeah, we don't know what's really going to happen with this guy. We don't really see, all that good stuff. But being a good teammate and just being a straight shooter. He did talk about the perfect situation that Ty Simpson has found himself in, which is something that we've brought up before. But he
Hmm.
said, quote, he's got Sean McVay and he's in the perfect situation. He gets to come in and he gets to learn from Matthew, a first ballot Hall of Famer, MVP, Super Bowl champion. You can see how he plays and how he attacks the game. I think he's in the perfect position. I mean, yeah, he really is in the perfect position. If there were any team in the league, anybody in the league to learn from, it's Matthew Stafford. He's the reigning MVP. He's gotten better with age. Now, whether or not Matthew Stafford wants to teach him remains to be seen. But
Mm.
yeah, I mean, he really is in the perfect situation for his ability to learn these next 2 seasons. Maybe we still don't quite know. We'll get a little bit more into that a little bit later. But additionally, um, Verse kept going about what he sees with Ty Simpson. He said, quote, he can run the ball, get through all the good stuff, and all these quarterbacks in the league usually can do. The way he's accurate, the way he's able to have confidence in the throws he makes, the things that he does, he's confident in his abilities. That's just a credit to the hard work that he puts in. And I'll just go through this last quote, and then we'll just talk all about all of what Verse had to say. And he was asked, like, if there's a pro comparison. Obviously, there's been tons, like he's Kirk Cousins or he's a souped up Mac Jones, if you will, or however you want to see it. But Verse put a pause on that and didn't want to give him a comp. He said he's kind of got his own style. You can always compare this. You can always compare this guy to that guy, but I think he's got his own little style. The way he moves, the way he does things. I'm not an analyst either, so I wouldn't take my word. Yeah, I mean that's a whole lot he said about Ty Simpson. I highly agree with the perfect situation thing, which is something that, like I said, we've talked about multiple times over. He is in the perfect situation. Sean McVay is one of the best offensive minds in the league. Nathan Shieldhouse is also one of the best offensive minds in the league. Is now the offensive coordinator for the Rams, and you got Matthew Stafford to sit behind and learn from. So starting with that, yeah, it's perfect.
Yeah, no, agreed. Like we have said that he's not wrong about that. Like if there was any team he was going to flourish under, it would probably be this one. And I think obviously Leslie saw that, is why he picked him. But what I really like about Jared Verse doing this is that I bet it's really nice for Ty to hear some encouragement, some words of affirmation, just a little bit of love, because it's going to have to have been rough out there for the last few weeks for him. Like, I've not seen much positive stuff go around. And if at some point, he really is going to be the starter for this team, I bet it means a lot, to have the team hyping him up, particularly, like I said, when there's a target on his back. It sets a
Hmm.
really good tone and foundation for the relationship because you have to do that. You got to stand by your guys.
Yeah.
You can't be showing the cracks out in the public and out in the press like that. So, above anything else, whether he means what he says or not, which that's great. It's great to see him saying that he can run the ball, get through all that good stuff because, Matthew Stafford is older. It's not the safest thing to do for older quarterbacks to be running. And, it's become more common now for there to be dual threat quarterbacks around the league. Like it's a necessity at this point. And so it seems like positive, exciting stuff for the future for Rams fans. But most of all, above all else, I just love Jared Verse having his guys back in the press because I don't think I've seen any other teammates of his do that just yet.
No, I mean, I don't think anybody's really said much of anything about Ty Simpson teammate wise. Like it's just been a media storm of confusion. We'll get more
Yeah, and
into.
imagine your biggest dream coming true, and that's all you're seeing. It's just the worst thing, isn't it?
I mean, that's kind of what they prepared these college players for anyway, because they're going to
Yeah,
be
of
under a
course.
they're going to be under a microscope, especially first round picks. But even more
Doesn't hurt
so,
any less.
right, right. But even more so for Ty Simpson because you are now Matthew Stafford's successor. So you're going to be heavily scrutinized if you do
Hmm.
not, you do anything wrong. People are going to be like, we told you so. So, but yeah, it's good that he's getting some backup, at least from one of his teammates so far.
Yeah, no, I like that from Vest. It's really classy.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, I one of the things that we did bring up or I've written about plenty, the accuracy and what Versus is alluding to with Ty Simpson is if nothing else, he is a accurate quarterback that protects the ball. He had a 1.1% interception rate in 2025 and now joins Dak Prescott, Caleb Williams, and Bo Nix as the only college players to have that low of an interception percentage in their senior year. That's good company to be a part of because Bo Nix had the record, I think it's 0.6%, and then 1% was Dak Prescott, 1% was Caleb Williams. So these are guys that protect the ball. And if nothing else, that's something to hang your hat on because if you cannot protect the ball as a quarterback, you are not going to be ever become a starter, period.
Yeah, but I'll counter that with it's not the NFL. And there's
Right.
a sample size that's really small.
Yeah.
It's really easy to show up and be good in a few games. Sorry, Ty. Don't want to be a hater. I'm sure he is. I would love for him to be the guy that's saying it, but I'm just gonna be the guy that's pushing back on it a little bit.
I don't disagree with any of that. That was our. This has been the heaviest critique since the beginning. This is what we've brought up, and we're gonna get. We've continued to bring up is the fact that he has such a small sample size as a college starter that you don't really know if he's ever. That you don't have those ebbs and flows of adversity. Did he rise to the occasion? Did he not? He had a really great senior year, but that's it. We don't know much beyond that. So I
Yeah.
fully agree with that, but we'll see. We'll
But
see.
it's great. It's great stats to have. If you can really hold those up, if that really is your skill set, then like, sure, like, absolutely love that for him.
Definitely, definitely. Additionally, Jared Verse just seems to be going around and talking and saying a whole lot of everything, which is
He's
great.
like, if
Because
no one else is going to talk, I'm going to talk.
right, right. I mean, he's been on pods and he's just one of those guys that like he's great on camera. He's great with the mic. Like he knows how to talk. He appears to love to do it, which is great. So,
Hmm.
additionally, in another exclusive interview, he was talking about like his feelings when it was announced that Matthew Stafford was coming back and what happened. What was the result of that? Was he said, "quote Kobe Turner texted me, Braden Fisk and Byron Young, and he was like, hey, he's coming back. We got to lock in. We got to take it to another level. This is the time." Um, and he also said, we all just started going harder. Kobe is going harder. Fisk is going harder. B Young is doing everything he can to get better. I'm doing the exact same. Follow right behind him. We got to do this together. End quote. This also is kind of coupled with what he said back in February when right after they had lost to, well, not right after, but shortly after, obviously, the NFC Championship game, which they lost to the Seattle Seahawks, who went on to win the Super Bowl. It was shortly after the Super Bowl that Verse spoke out about the young mindset of the defense and saying basically that they didn't do what they were supposed to do. They could have been better. And again, this goes back to what I said at the top of the hour here is that he's very critical, but for a reason. He likes he calls it like he sees it, and I really appreciate this quote as well, talking about locking in because you know the defense is an integral part of this Rams team. In fact, in my opinion, they might be a little bit more important than the offense is because the offense has always kind of been there, been good, especially with Matthew Stafford, but the defense has been not up and down, I will say, but they have the youthful group there, so they have to figure out a way to get over those humps, the way to get past, that mindset that he said wasn't there for the NFC
Yeah. I
Championship
mean, their
game.
identity is offense. Like,
Yeah,
is Sean McVay. Every team has that identity, don't they? Where it's like you're pretty much known for one or the other. Even if you're great at both, you've still got that like you're led by a guy that is one mind.
yeah, and again, the excitement, the passion of saying that they're gonna get better, they're gonna lock in, they're trying to get better, and all these guys were ridiculously good. I when I wrote the article about what he said, so Verse ended 2025 with 7.5 sacks. Turner had seven, Fisk had three, Young had 12, 29.5 sacks. Just those guys. There was two teams in the NFL that didn't even get to that number total team wise. So I mean, these guys, they're a main component of this Rams team. They're a main reason why this Rams team is going to stay competitive even beyond when Matthew Stafford decides to hang up his cleats. Um, and now they got Trent McDuffie and Jalen Watson, who are veteran players in themselves, but they're also still young. Trent McDuffie, I think, is going into his fourth season. I want to see Jalen Watson is longer than that. I'm not sure how many seasons he's been in the league. Let me check
He's
that.
27, so probably like,
Five, six,
yeah,
yeah, something like that.
2022 he was drafted, so
Okay, yeah. So yeah,
this
he's
will be his
still
fifth.
fifth. Yeah, and then I think it's Trent McDuffie's fourth. So they're still relatively young too. But again, it's a young core, defensive core that needs to band together and find a way to elevate themselves because you have the strength of the NFC up. You're up against that with the Eagles, with the San Francisco 49ers, and the Seahawks again, who did not get any worse over this offseason. So you're
Mm-mm.
up against it, and you need to figure out a way to beat these teams because those are the teams in your division, the San Francisco 49ers and the Seahawks, plus in the NFC. I think it's going to go down similar to what it was in 2025. These teams are all going to be the top teams battling it out in the playoffs once again.
Yeah, those are tough teams to have to compete against twice a year. That's, what, a third of your roster every single year. If you can win those games, it puts you in a really good position, puts you in step to have those home games in the playoffs, which really matter, especially in a place like LA. I like this from the defense again, like showing up for him, saying that they, in a way, kind of want to send out Matthew Stafford in style. They anticipate that it's not going to be much longer. Like he's not
Right.
got like a decade left. He might have a decade left in him. He might break some records. I doubt it. Probably 2, 3 more seasons is what we're expecting at least. But yeah, no, I think it's nice to see them talking like that was their immediate reaction that they wanted to do something
Mhm.
for him. And I think that like with Jared Verse, obviously he's spoken about the team having that young mentality and stuff. I really hope now that this is him taking on that leadership role. I know we spoke about it when we spoke about all of that and saying, you can't just wait around for a guy to be the leader. Like you have to be, if you've identified it, then that's your business to kind of bring to the team and figure it out. And now you're not the oldest in the room, but you're one of the guys that's been there the longest. And I think that, I like to see him respecting what Stafford's accomplished so far and wanting to help him with his legacy. And also, I found it funny that he also didn't know that Stafford was returning, or like, obviously, no one knew, but it kind of feeds into our theory that really no one knew, and
Yeah.
maybe even Matthew Stafford didn't know until that very moment. So I think it's all starting to make a lot of sense over there in LA.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I'm of the mind because I mean the way that Puka Nakua and Kyron Williams
Yeah.
responded at NFL honors were like, "What?" And I don't think anybody knew. I don't think
No.
he talked to any person, and I think he announced it on that stage that he's coming back.
Yeah.
So, but again, yeah, I think you're right. I think the idea is like, okay, you have to now play with the assumption that this is his final year and you have to
Yeah.
leave it all out on the field. Not that they weren't doing that before, but even more so the fact that he announced his grand return and immediately the defense is texting Verse like, hey, we got to do something about this, and sure.
Yeah.
Let that be the reason that you elevate your game and you evolve as a defense to get past these teams and get back to the Super Bowl. That will be played in Los Angeles. So there you
Yeah.
go.
I think for them, it's like him committing to coming back shows his commitment not only to himself and his love of the game, but a commitment to the team and belief in these guys that like because realistically at that age you're thinking about, what have you got left that you want to achieve? Of course you enjoy playing, but what do you really want to accomplish? And of course all like every player wants to send out themselves on a Super Bowl. That's how they want to win. That's how they want to go out. That's how they want to be remembered. And so I think it's equal, as much as there's a respect from the defense, there's also respect from Matthew Stafford to be like, hey, you're my guys. And now that they're showing that in return by being like, hey, like, let's lock in for this, I think it's going to show a really harmonious locker room this year. But we'll
And
get into the whole Ty Simpson, Matthew Stafford, what's going on situation that could disrupt that a little bit.
definitely. I mean, we're gonna jump right into this. I'm gonna kind of combo these two together because I think they kind of feed into one another and what we've talked about and what my crazy tinfoil hat theory is about what's going on. So Andrew Whitworth, longtime NFL player, Rams legend, was on the Rich Eisen show and he was talking about first and foremost, he talked about how obviously Matthew Stafford is going to play because of he's how much of a competitor he is. Not that there was any doubt that he's not going to play in 2026, but I think he's alluding to what a lot of people are alluding to is a simple fact that they believe, or rather, that Matthew Stafford could potentially play past 2026. I believe it. I don't know if you believe it, but I believe that he's not going to stop. You believe?
100%.
Yeah, I think I'm more of the mind that he could be playing well into his 40s, but I don't know that that's going to be for the Rams. I'll just say
Yeah,
that. And I'll
I
say
agree.
that because of what's occurred. Um, Matthew Stafford was shopping around before he signed his new deal with the Rams in 2025. We know this. That's already a red flag. He knows what his value is. He knows that he could probably go get a bag somewhere else. All these other teams, Matthew Stafford is interested. Are you kidding me? Who the hell would not jump at that fact? But now with Ty Simpson coming in, you got to not feel you got to think that he does not he feels upset about it. Why wouldn't he feel upset about it?
Yeah.
I still don't think that Sean McVay and Les Snead said exactly what they needed to say to him because of their whole dance and everything that they had to do after, and the fact that Sean McVay had to come out and say this is Matthew Stafford's team on numerous occasions. I don't think you have to say that unless you're doing heavy damage control. And
Yeah.
Andrew Whitworth also said he's like there a few things can be true. Matthew Stafford could want to play, but he could also not be happy with the organization, which I fully think is what's going on. I think that he's very upset about what's going on. I think that they did not tell him. I think that he announced his return only for them to go, oh, by the way, we're drafting a quarterback, but not tell him until the 11th hour. In my opinion,
Yeah.
this has not been confirmed. This is just how I see it, how I feel what's going on. So that leads into the updates about his contract. There is no contract yet. I have written about this. I said very clearly that I believe that he's now going to work on a multi-year deal that protects him, that gives him a guarantee that he will be behind center for at least the next 2 seasons. If he does not get that, which I don't know what the language would be because that's not how this works, but obviously if you're Matthew Stafford and you think that you're going to get replaced in 2027 but still want to play, why the hell would you want to stay on the team? So,
Yeah.
all that to say, there's no updates on any contract. They were working on the contract. There was reports before the draft occurred that they were deep in conversations, which have all of a sudden stalled. Now, all that to say, I think he's very upset. Why wouldn't he be? You just drafted his replacement. When that happens in the history of the NFL, as we've talked about before, you usually get replaced pretty soon thereafter. It's not
Yeah.
going to be in 2026. Nobody thinks that Ty Simpson's going to be good enough to do that. But with the full offseason, a preseason, training camp, who's to say that he's not going to get put in place of Stafford in 2027?
You just never know. Honestly, it's so the way that things work, like you see quarterbacks have their MVP season, right?
Yep.
Like Matthew Stafford just did.
Hmm.
Next season, shambles. And it's not even necessarily because of anything that Matthew Stafford's doing. It's just because of the way the chips are falling, teams
Hmm.
not gelling, chemistry is not right, whatever it is. Doesn't mean that like if Ty Simpson comes out there and just suddenly magically something's falling into place and it works, they want to win. Doesn't matter who the guy is. Like, unfortunately for Matthew Stafford, all of that kind of history is brutal out there. And I think Andrew spoke about it really greatly when he was talking about his experience with the Bengals of like an understanding that, okay, they're going to do it. They're going to have to
Hmm.
at some point replace me, but it doesn't make it hurt any less. And
Yep.
especially in the first round, does it not hurt any less? Because that's kind of saying, like, we really believe in this guy. Like, it's not just a guy we're picking up in the fifth, sixth, seventh round that's going to, like, be there as an insurance. Like, this is the guy that we're really putting our eggs in his basket for. And I think, I think Whitworth said that he spoke to Stafford and kind of expressed that thing about saying, like, it's,
That's what he
fine to
said.
feel yeah, said that he shared with him about his own experience and that it's normal to feel all types of ways about it.
Hmm.
But yeah, something interesting I found when I was reading was that it's the first time an organization has drafted his what they imagine to be his successor and kind of put a timer on his like
Yeah.
career,
Yeah.
which I didn't know. I mean, obviously that makes sense because this is the oldest that he's been, but I think that you probably do feel a type of way about that. And also, it takes a little bit of the wind out of your sails. Like you just made this big announcement. Like that was the last thing anyone really heard of your team was like Stafford's coming back. He's got it. It's going to be great. Just won an MVP. And then suddenly it's like, oh, all of that is just like swept under the rug. And now with the optics are all on Ty Simpson. And I think really that is what it is. It's just optics wise, none of it looks good, regardless of how the situation's going behind closed doors. It might be going great for them,
Hmm.
but to everyone else, it just doesn't look good. Staff has not said anything about Ty Simpson as far as we're aware. May have texted him, may have had a conversation with him that we're not privy to. Obviously, it's not normal necessarily for players to be going around like talking about individual rookies and things like that. But it's just not looking good. It's all looking a bit like messy. And I think that it started with the Sean McVay like face.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's
I,
only spiraled out of control from there, I think.
no, I again, yeah, like I said, it's 100% BS that he was not mad about what transpired. I don't believe that for a second. I
Your
don't care
ego
what.
has to hurt just a little bit, regardless of how nice a guy you are. Like it's
Yeah,
normal.
I look. We talked about this in our other pod, and I'll bring it up here. Sean McVay is the head coach. Sean McVay is not the general manager. That's Les Snead. So who's to say that Les Snead did not make that decision more so on for himself,
Hmm.
not for himself, but for the organization, and then tell Sean McVay, who then has to tell Matthew Stafford, because that's his job as a head coach. That trickle down effect, you're upset because you were not bought into the plan fully. Then you got to tell your star player, hey, by the way, we're going to be moving in a different direction soon. And again, there's like you perfectly said it. They just put a timestamp on your ability to run this team. You have a clock now. You have a clock
Hmm.
that's going to run out very soon, and a season I don't think is going to matter in the grand scheme of things to his playing career. I very much well think he's going to go until he can't physically play anymore because of who he is. He's a competitor. He's been a competitor. He's gone through so much adversity in his career. He was stuck on the Detroit Lions for multiple years, and that organization didn't know what the hell to do during that time. They wasted Megatron's career and a lot of Matthew Stafford's career because they just didn't know how to build. And so he gets to the Rams, he wins the Super Bowl. You're knocking on the door last season. Now you're one of the favorites. Why are you going to step away from that when if you're only playing 3 to 5 more years, let's just say, you have a strong shot to go to the Super Bowl each one of those years. I don't see it. I don't see him walking away right now. But now
Mm-mm.
you got Ty Simpson in your way. You got the young guy who they put all their faith into because they went and drafted him number 13 overall in the first round of the 2026 NFL draft. Again, doesn't matter what anybody says. You draft a quarterback that high, that guy's going to play. It would make no sense in the world for him to sit more than 2 seasons behind Matthew Stafford. Period.
No, it's a waste of a pick because
So
then he's there, and then what? Like he's been sat there for 2 years, and then what? You've got 2 years more on his contract, and it's the same with Matthew Stafford right now. I think he's sorted for this year, but next year he kind of becomes a UFA, and then like I don't blame him for maybe not wanting to sign a new contract right now. He's
yep.
like, I know next year if I play as good as I did this year, which I feel like physically I can,
Mm-hmm.
every team's going to be knocking down my door to have me,
100.
minus a few, very small handful are not going to be wanting that. So everyone is going to be knocking down his door. So why not? Why not wait?
Yep. And
And I'll also ask them to kind of believe in you as much as you believe in them. You know, he's like, well, let's leave it for this year. We'll revise next year. It's risky because anything can happen. You know, he can just injure himself and then he's not got any guarantees, but don't blame him for wanting to hold out.
yeah, 100%. 100%. Even if he does sign, I'll say this: if he does sign a 1 year deal again, where he's only going to pay 2026, I fully expect that he'll be on another team in 2027.
Oh,
100%.
100%.
100%. That's
100%.
yeah, and exactly like you said, the number of teams that would be coming and knocking on Matthew Stafford's door, even for a 2 year contract, it line out the door, out around the block, out
Outside
the
of the Chiefs, Bills, and Ravens, even then, I'm not
everybody.
sure about that anymore.
Right. I mean, we talked about with Lamar Jackson. Who's to say? Whoop. Like
Could you imagine
that would
Lamar
be
and
nuts.
Rams? Hey, got it
Woo.
figured out. Don't
Puka
worry about it.
Nakua and Lamar Jackson. Anyway, we're getting ahead of ourselves. But the point
That's
being is
tinfoil
like,
hat.
yeah, the point being is, yeah, like overall, Matthew Stafford's probably very unhappy. He wants a contract that will reflect that he's guaranteed to stay as a starter, or at least something of those along that line. But even then, the only way you can guarantee anything is guaranteed money, which is always a
Yeah.
sticking point for any contract. So if you're Matthew Stafford, you're probably like, I want like 30 to 40 million guaranteed, and cool, I'll sign on the dotted line. That way, if he is benched for Ty Simpson, which he probably wouldn't be, he's at least covered financially. So
Yeah, I think that, that's completely fair and not an irrational thing for him to do. So I think that he's definitely going to be holding out on that.
yep. But still in the quarterback conversation, but a little bit more spicy. Um, Bomani Jones took a massive shot at not Matthew Stafford, took a massive shot at Sean McVay regarding the Ty Simpson pick, but he made it a little bit more personal. So he was on the, um, sorry, totally forgot his name. I think it's Dominique Hawthorne show, and he
Yeah.
posed a question. He posed a very important question, actually. He said, "What is the basis of the reputation of Sean McVay as a quarterback whisperer?" Hawthorne then responded, "I think it's getting to LA and taking Jared Goff, who seemed like an all-time bust, and making them into a Super Bowl contender." Then he made a case for Baker Mayfield as a quarterback that got better through the Rams, and then went on to sign with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Yeah.
And look where he's at now. This is a very interesting question because it's true. How did he get this kind of reputation of being a quarterback whisperer when Jared Goff isn't really that great? Jared Goff is a pretty good quarterback, but he clearly is not that Super Bowl caliber because the Rams didn't win with him. And then he goes to Detroit, and Detroit's been kind of eh. You know what I mean? Like offensively, they've gotten to the playoffs and they've been pretty good, but he hasn't been able to lead them over the hump. And a team's measure is wins, is those big wins, and they haven't got them. Now, I'm not saying this is all on Jared Goff. I'm not saying it's his fault. I'm not saying that it's only Jared Goff that's not playing up to a standard, but the quarterback is the de facto leader of any team. So it kind of falls on your shoulders a little bit there. The reason why he brought this up is because he is pointing to how it relates to Ty Simpson. So he said, I would like to say that we're really operating to me on two data points. I think the first data point is Kirk Cousins. The second data point is Jared Goff. Two quarterbacks none of us think are good enough for you to win a Super Bowl, right? There are limits to what whispering is going to do. So the idea that you are taking a talent, the level of Ty Simpson, there is no evidence that Sean McVay is going to whisper him up to be a Super Bowl winner. So he said, I'm saying what the ceiling is for Ty Simpson. Nothing of the McVay track record indicates that the ceiling is going to be higher than a pretty good quarterback. Hold on right fast. I would like to note that Jared Goff looked just about the damn same playing for Dan Campbell as you did for Sean McVay. But Monty Jones is basically saying you did not see success until you went and got Matthew Stafford. But Matthew Stafford is a generational talent quarterback. So there's some value to that. He's saying even if Sean McVay is somewhat of a quarterback whisperer, that he is not going to be able to elevate Ty Simpson above just being a decent quarterback.
He's not wrong in what he's saying. Like, you've only had veteran quarterbacks come into the room, and, they were already in the NFL. They already have a skill set that he can be familiar with, you know. So, of course, like, he probably knew how best to use them in terms of what he was doing for a team. But also, I'm going to put some heat on Sean McVay that a lot of other coaches get. He's won one Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
He's been there since 2017. He's won one Super Bowl.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, he's a contender every year, but at some point, that's not enough anymore. It's not enough to just be contending every year. We saw it in Baltimore. They said bye bye to Harbaugh, one season too many, and they were like, that's it now. I don't know that he's really in that space just yet because hey, they were in the NFC Championship very close, like as in one point differential that close, So I don't think he's like in that hot seat yet. And I'm not going to put the same disrespect on his name Bomani has done because I disagree with it. You don't really know, But I saw him say something like saying you can win with Matthew Stafford and really good receivers is not saying much. And honestly, you can say that about any organization. It doesn't really say you're not saying much by saying that because like that's just a credit. Then all you're really doing is like a backhanded thing. It's just like a credit to Les Snead for drafting these really good players. You're not really saying anything with that. So like I see it because of course like he hasn't had a rookie quarterback in the room yet. He's not had this like it's also this whisperer thing for me. It's just like the actual image of it of him like whispering. Yeah, I'm like it's like just throw the ball this way. No, so I
Yeah.
don't know. But here's my tinfoil hat. Maybe McVay feels this pressure. Maybe he'd like to do this. Maybe he wants the rookie quarterback to prove to the league that he can do it. And actually, the annoyed face was because he didn't want to do it with Ty Simpson. Maybe he had a vision for the future. Maybe he was like, oh gosh, now all of this lies on this back. That's my complete crazy tinfoil hat. I don't
Mm-hmm.
necessarily know that I believe that, but maybe it's something that's on his mind. Um, but yeah, I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about that. I see it. I see it like statistically. Yep, he's had veteran quarterbacks come in and he's managed to get the best out of them. But he has managed to change reputations of guys who didn't have the kind of reputation they had when they left the Rams. So I'm on both sides with that. I can see it from both sides.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Jared Goff. It may not even be necessarily a Sean McVay thing. Could just be a Jared Goff thing. That Jared Goff just that's just the limit of his capabilities or where they're at. And regardless, like he's Jared Goff is not Matthew Stafford, and we know that for a fact. Matthew Stafford is 1-1. Matthew Stafford is and has always been a ridiculously strong arm quarterback and a great pocket passer, and we know this. He exhibited that with Detroit, and he's always been that guy. Jared Goff is not that guy. So to compare those two in that regard is a little ridiculous. So I don't want to buy into that aspect. I'm not going to say like, oh, like you were supposed to make Jared Goff Matthew Stafford. Like, no, you can't. It's impossible to do that. So I don't think that's a fair assessment. But I do understand what he's saying in the fact that like, okay, well, as a quarterback whisperer or whatever, as an offensive leader, you're supposed to be able to work with whatever you got. And they did. They were decent with Jared Goff. They just didn't go beyond that. So I don't know. I mean, I'm with you on both sides as well. I think I think it's I don't necessarily believe, or rather, I don't think that he's always been, or rather, that he's been one of the quarterback whisperers that you hear about. Sure, maybe people say that ish, but I don't think he's as much as anybody else that's had that, that tagline or whatever, that's had that designation. So I don't know. I'm not into calling him a quarterback whisperer. I never have. I think he's a great offensive mind. I'll say that,
Yeah.
but yeah. But I guess it's more so the question of Ty Simpson and how is he going to elevate Ty Simpson? That's more an important question, which I think he was kind of getting at in the sense that like what we brought up earlier and what everyone keeps talking about. He's got 1 year of starting under his belt. He's very inexperienced from college, and now you're going to throw him into the fire and have to lead one of the best offenses in the NFL if and when Matthew Stafford walks away or potentially goes to another team. Are you going to be able to elevate him to that degree? Because that's what it's going to be. You have to step in and be as good as Matthew Stafford is in the sense of running the offense. Not an arm. He's not Matthew Stafford either. But you have to figure out how to maximize his capabilities in a way that you're going to be able to go to the playoffs every year and then potentially compete for a Super Bowl. Are you going to be able to do that? That is where I have the question. That's where everyone's questions are right now is
Yeah.
how can you make Ty Simpson better? And again, we don't know if Ty Simpson's going to come out slinging. We have no clue. We don't know what he's going to be
He
like in the
might.
NFL. He might. He very well might. He could be the next Brock Purdy that comes out of nowhere and then just lights up the league. And all of a
He's not
sudden,
Mr. Irrelevant though.
I know he's definitely not, but I mean the point being is like he might come out and be that guy. He might come out like everyone. Funny enough, when the draft class came out with Bo Nix and everybody thought Bo Nix was going to be the worst. I
Mm,
had the opinion that he was going to be really good, and look at him, he's good. He's a
great.
solid ass quarterback. So the point being, yeah, I think more if you boil down all the hate that it seems like it is, the taking a deep shot at Sean McVay, I think his question still stands and is a very important question. How are you going to make Ty Simpson better?
Yeah. I think Sean McVay knows how to get the best out of the guys he has. And I just think he understands offense. I think that it's really that I think he's good at piecing or like figuring out what he's got and doing the best he possibly can with it. And I think that that's really what it's going to be. I don't know if Ty Simpson's going to be the star of the show, but he
Mhm.
might just fit in and do well. Like do well. Like we have teams that do well without a star quarterback.
Yeah.
Obviously, I think across the league it's becoming more demanding of quarterbacks. I think that, they're required to do more nowadays. They're required to dazzle and kind of perform. We get really exciting games between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson where they're just running all over the field and it's just like you're just watching them play essentially. Like
Mhm.
there's just more required of a quarterback nowadays than I think there has been in the past, especially like with the running ability specifically. But I think that Sean McVay's going to know how to get the best out of him, and I think that I don't necessarily know that he's going to be like the leader in the way that Matthew Stafford is, and he can't be. He's the young guy in the room right now. He won't get there. Like he might get there eventually, but if Matthew Stafford is playing for 2 years, 3 years in LA, let's just say that, then he hasn't got the chance to do that. He hasn't got the chance to command the room. And then by the time he comes in, he's what, 27?
Mhm.
You could hope that he learned enough, but I think it's not right to expect him to step into those shoes. So I think that he's going to do well in LA. I just don't think he's going to be a star, and I can't wait to be proven wrong.
And that's a fair assessment because this is just a feeling, all that. Like we don't know, but yeah, you have some impossible shoes to fill. We'll just say that right now because you have to consistently be the guy that's helping this offense that's stacked with players, by the way. Granted, Devontae Adams might be on his way out, but you still got Puka Nakua, who is a generational wide receiver. So,
Well, it's hard
well,
for anyone. Imagine trying to find out who's Patrick Mahomes,
yeah.
like who's coming in after him, who's coming in after like these are guys that you just don't want to fill. This is like the worst possible thing for a rookie quarterback to have to go in behind these specific guys. Matthew Stafford is just one of them. It was going to be the I think any rookie quarterback is going to get the same kind of scrutiny
Mhm.
as him. And I think it just is it is more about, the specific timing of it that's just all a little bit,
Mhm.
throwing people off.
Definitely, definitely. Yeah, but again, we'll see. There's a lot of drama that's going to be surrounding the Rams and this pick for until he takes the field, and
Yeah.
so it
And that
is
could
what
be
it is.
2 years from now.
Yeah, exactly. And then everyone's gonna be like, well, obviously he wasn't ready and he wasn't the right pick. Whatever is said, but it is what it is.
Hmm.
Last point, I just wanted to quickly bring up just because it's cool. The opening game for the Los Angeles Rams will be against the San Francisco 49ers in week 1, September 10th. It's a Thursday at 8:35 p.m. Eastern, I believe. This has not been confirmed, but The Athletic reported that game in Australia, mind you, the first time the NFL is going to be playing a regular season game in Australia, will be streamed live on Netflix.
Yeah.
Netflix has been getting in on the live sports game for a few years now, and they were the hub for the 2024 and 2025 Christmas slate. So now they're going to be showing international games, which I think is really cool because sometimes, A, it sucks to have to wake up at weird times to watch said games, and also find wherever it's streaming. Netflix is very down the middle, very easy. If you have a Netflix account, there you go. I know it's kind of expensive, so if you don't, I don't know what to tell you, but there you go. September 10th, week one against the Rams and San Francisco 49ers, which is a great game to start the season off with for that team, those teams, and for the NFL. Going to be on Netflix.
Yeah, Netflix. They've been getting in on the game. Don't know if I like it. I like it for the sense of accessibility wise. I think it's great to grow and expand the sport, but I think a lot of people had frustration with the way it was presented.
Mm.
And they were like, I hope it doesn't all end up like this because then eventually you're gonna, the way it's presented in the terms of like commentary and older fans are like,
Oh yeah, yeah,
don't need this. Like they're breaking down the like, this is what a run is. And it's like,
yeah.
okay, we
I mean,
know.
but they got to appeal to casual people that have a Netflix account that
Exactly.
never watch football before. So I get that.
And I love that. I love that it's bringing new people into sport and making it more accessible. But I think, it really pisses off some of the older fans and they're like, oh,
Yeah,
because I remember when they did the Christmas game, it's fine because it's this like one-off event type thing. And I think as long as they keep it that way, the better. But I've seen Netflix trying to muscle in for a while and I'm like, please don't make them all like that. The performance was cool though. I wonder if
yeah,
they'll have that.
maybe,
I think they do
maybe.
sometimes.
I don't know, but there you go. This has been Rams Roundtable episode number 19. Thank you, Billy, for joining me once again. We will be back next week. So rookie minicamp is starting today for the Rams. So we'll have some updates and get our first looks kind of at Ty Simpson. The Rams
Hmm.
don't traditionally have practices. They treat this more so like a 3-day onboarding type of thing, but they may take the field for practice a little bit and everyone can kind of see what Ty Simpson's working with, I guess. But
Everyone's watching.
we'll be back next week.
No pressure.